Welcome to Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, back again with another episode. Prison officials all over the country are clamping down, y'all, on the introduction of drugs into their facilities. They're getting these scanning machines, dogs. They're doing a lot more roadblocks when it comes to the people that work in the prison. They're searching them more. All of these things, right? So gangs, to make up for the loss of revenue, some gangs anyway, are forcing non-gang members to pay for like the basic services that are provided by the prison, such as using the phone, showers, and even to eat, y'all. And that's something that, in the past, you really didn't see happening, right? The phones, yeah, to a degree, showers to a degree, but not the way it is today. Back in the day, it was more like certain showers were reserved for gang members, certain phones were reserved for gang members. Now, it's if you want to use the phone, period, you have to pay. If you want to take a shower, period, you have to pay. And they've even ratcheted it up one notch by saying, okay, if you want to even go to the chow hall to eat the food that the state is providing for you, you're going to have to pay us. And if you don't pay, you're going to pay with blood. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about that. The name of this episode is In Prison, Peons Pay to Eat, Use Phone, and Take Showers. Clamping down on the introduction of drugs is the right thing to do. You got people ODing at a record pace. You got Narcan that's having to be used on a daily basis, multiple times a day in some facilities. This is all over the country. This is not a problem unique to one state or one prison. This is happening all over the country, state and federal facilities. So to stop drugs coming into prison is the right thing to do. The effort, it has to be commended, period, bar none. Now, to assume, though, that some people are going to change their behavior because they don't have access to drugs to make the money that they were used to making, that is short-sighted. And I don't even know if that's the point. I don't even know if that's the point in trying to stop people from getting a hold of drugs. The point should be, and I hope that it is to stop people from ODing. But you got these gangs, some gangs, that even in the efforts that prison administrators are taking to stop drugs, you got some gangs that saw an opportunity to pivot. But you think about this. This is sick, twisted capitalism here, y'all. Because the services that are provided in prison are a mainstay of prison. Phone, showers, chow. Right? You have to have those things. You got to be able to stay in touch with your family, your lawyer. You know what I'm saying? If you got a case pending, you have to take a shower. You have to. Some of the prisons, I know the prisons that I've been to, require you to have to take a shower. You shouldn't, it's not optional. You can't just go without taking a shower. Cleanliness, y'all, it has to be. It's healthy. And then eating. You cannot go without eating. So what some of these gangs have done, they have figured out how to make money off of that. You got some people having to have their family members pay after they can't continue to pay. They've taken everything off their shelves. The money that they make from their jobs, they have to pay that out on a monthly basis. And after they deplete that, or the gangs increase the fees, they got to get some help from the streets. And it forces you to have to conform to the ways of prison in a twisted way. To survive this environment, you have to conform. So a lot of times these individuals that are not part of gangs become part of gangs just so they don't, just so they aren't victimized by the gangs. And that has the opposite effect of what you want to happen in prison. You want people to come here to learn not to, or to see the criminal lifestyle as something that they shouldn't want to participate in. But the things that you have to do to survive this environment pull you further into that mindset, that lifestyle, just to survive it. Some people pay as little as $10 a month to be able to use the phone, showers, and to eat. Some people pay, from what I've heard, $50, $75, $100 a month. It just depends on your circumstances. They don't bump down on you immediately. They lean in the cut and they watch to see how often you get on the phone. They'll send somebody to befriend you to find out things about you, like what type of family you have, what type of work do they do, how much money are they sending you, do you like to get high, all of these types of things. And then they, based on that information, they come up with what you should be able to afford. They always go high first. And if you have a problem keeping that up consistently, they'll put the pressure down on you, but they'll end up lowering it just so that you can continue to pay, making you believe that they're doing you a favor, but they're not. They just want you to stay on the compound, don't check in. And check in, for those of you that might not know, is protective custody. They don't want you to leave and go into protective custody because they're going to lose their revenue from you. So they present this facade of being dangerous and tough to you. Well, it's not a facade. It's real. But they don't really want to have to do it to you, because if they do it to you and you leave, then they lose money. It's a very, very delicate balancing act that they have to play to make sure that they can continue to get some money from you without running you off. But for those of you out there that are not aware of this type of thing, I implore you to think about what I'm saying here. If you have a family member in prison, very few people get to sit on the sidelines these days, depending on what prison you're in. Very few people get to sit on the sidelines. And what I mean by that is you're either the predator or the prey, right? You're either the predator or the prey. You don't get to sit on the sideline and watch. It used to be that the old heads, people like me, didn't have to worry about that. Once you got a certain age, everybody respected it. You know what I'm saying? Like you're an elder. You know what I'm saying? And you've done time, and with that, you should be afforded a certain amount of respect. The very thing that the prison administrators are trying to stop from coming into prison, these drugs, especially this fentanyl and all of this and that, it has created an environment in here that is pure madness. It's almost like Zombie City or something. You know what I'm saying? The facility that I'm at is, I'm fortunate that it's not that bad here in the sense of drugs. You rarely encounter that type of person here. It happens, but not on the level that it does at a lot of other places. If somebody here is high, everybody knows it, because very few people here want to do that or are into that. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times people try to here anyway. They stay away from that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, what's most important is that you try your best to avoid that. And but today, depending on what prison you're at, they won't let you. They're going to force you to pick a side. And if you're not cut or you don't want to be about that life, they're going to charge you for peace. They're going to charge you. You want to be peaceful in what you're trying to do. You don't want to be involved in all of those types of things. So they might just say, man, give us $10 a month and you good. Now think about it. They find 10 people like that. That's an extra $100 a month that's coming in to the coffers that they can use to satisfy whatever criminal activities that they have going on. And that's the problem that you have in prison today. You got a lot of stuff going on in here that is financed through extortion and other things. Drugs is at the top. Drug selling is at the top. Phones comes behind that. And then the extortion. Every aspect of prison is an opportunity for somebody that doesn't want to change their life to make some money off of. And that's what people are having to deal with in here. I believe that everybody in prison has a right to be in a safe facility. I know a lot of people out there, especially a lot of victims, they want people to come into prison like myself and suffer. Well, I understand that anger and that pain. I get it. I do get it. But I would ask you to respectfully, on bended knee, I would ask you to think about that. You are just in the way you feel. But I would ask you to have mercy. I would ask you to have mercy on us in your thoughts. Because if you feel like that, and you elect lawmakers that feel like that, they're not going to do anything to change the environment in here so that people that are remorseful, people that regret the decisions that they made to cause you so much pain, people like myself, if you don't give us mercy, then we'll suffer. And for the most part, it only makes it worse. It only makes us worse. And I've seen a lot of people that are ashamed of what they did, sorry for what they did, remorseful for what they've done. But they have to survive that environment. And to survive this environment, you have to get down on all fours and be an animal. And that doesn't benefit anybody. It doesn't benefit anybody. Becoming the predator or the prey, either way, doesn't benefit society. It won't satisfy you. So I ask for mercy in that. I ask all victims for mercy. Mercy that we don't deserve. I get it. I get it. I'm just asking that you find it in your heart to extend that to us. Because these environments in prison, it has become so bad that it's only creating monsters. It's only creating monsters. Very few people come out of here unscathed to the point to where they don't participate in criminal activities. Very few people come out of here without mental health issues to the point to where they can't function in society. And having an environment like that is not going to deter one person from coming in here. Telling people that they have to pay to take a shower, pay to eat, pay to use the phone, unfortunately, it's not going to scare anybody from coming in here. Not one bit. I want you to know this because living in an environment like this, like that, isn't healthy for anybody. It doesn't make our community safe. And maybe somebody will hear this that's involved in criminal activities. Maybe somebody will hear it and they say, I don't want that, and it'll change them for the better. And I hope that's what happens. I hope that's what happens. But unfortunately, most people are not going to sit down and think, well, I just listened to Joe's podcast, and I'm not doing that. The main reason I do this is to reach out to family members of the people in prison. If it reaches people in prison in whatever way it does and it changes them, all praise is due to the Most High. But the family members, you have way more influence over us than you can ever understand. If you talk about these things that you know are going on by what I'm telling you on this podcast, then they'll believe, your loved ones will believe and understand that you can relate to what's going on in some way. And then you can provide them that comfort, that strength, that courage that they'll need to resist this type of lifestyle. Those people in your family that are predators, tell them to stop. Those people in your family that are selling drugs to send you money, tell them you don't need it. Tell them you don't need it. Tell them what you need is for them to get better and come home and be better. Because up in here, doing those types of things that I'm talking about in this episode is what's going to create an environment and a mentality that I don't have to change. This is important because it's this one guy. I want to tell you this before I wrap this up. There's this one guy that refused to pay to call his lawyer. He refused to pay, and they beat him. They went in the cell and beat him. And even after that, he wasn't able to call. He tried again, and they beat him again. Nobody knows that he's being beaten until his lawyer comes to visit him. And he tells him. And when the lawyer was leaving the prison against his client's wishes, he tells the prison administrators, and they take him to protective custody. Well, they call that different. It's kind of like administrative seg, where he's going against his will. And they lock him up for his own safety. And even that can be dangerous. I'm going to talk about that in another episode, how going to protective custody these days doesn't help you. They got people that go to protective custody right behind you still to get you. And that's sad. But that's what it is, y'all. In some of these prisons today, gangs charge you to eat, use the phone, and take a shower. Think about that. Is that the type of prisons that you want to be paying for? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.